Alright, we got some issues to repair here today. Just going to show everybody all on the right side. I know we have more right-handed bowlers than we have left-handed bowlers, but we've got a lot of these broken frameworks, foul, but these broken frameworks, actual bumpers that come up. They seem to all be broken on the right side, right in this first foot. So I got a bunch of them that I got to fix. I'm trying to show you a way maybe to save your center some money and maybe save to have to repair it time and time again. There is one thing about these rails. The front rail is shorter. The actual, I guess the upright support is shorter than the rest of the rails going all the way down. I think that's just to tip it down kind of for a little bit of looks, as well as to keep the ball from jamming on it. But if people are going to hit it, it's still going to break. So what I'm going to try to do today is I want to switch that shortened rail out. We're just going to try a new experiment here, see if it works better, see if it keeps from breaking. I want to switch our shorter upright out with a average size to keep the rail from bending down as it's installed. Hopefully without that extra tension where it bends down when they hit it with a ball, maybe it won't crack out, because they all seem to be busting in that identical spot. So I'm going to try that experiment on a lane, and we're going to switch out some parts, and I'm going to show you how to save some money. And the other day we got our new bumper rail sent in. You can see how long it is here all the way. It costs a lot for the shipping and a special truck to get it here and stuff. So important thing I want to say that we do, or that I do at least, is most of our I keep saying foul rails, but most of our bumper rails keep breaking right in the very first couple feet. So rather than me taking the money to install an entire rather than me taking the entire time to install an entire bumper rail, I go ahead and I take this rail and I divide it with a hacksaw or a sawzall, and I cut it into sections like thirds. And I use it in smaller pieces rather than using the whole piece, because the whole piece will break again. I just basically make a coupler joint in the middle, not really in the middle of it, because I use this thing into parts. I split it into thirds. This one piece here, let me show you how long it is. Alright, so I'm measuring it up. We got about an average of 150 inches. So I'm going to just take it. We're going to end up splitting this rail into 50-inch sections, or work with 50 inches or less. So that's where we're going to base it off of. Don't just cut 50 inches. I'll show you why in just a second here. Alright, so I'm going to show you on this good side where we're judging, where we're going to cut this off to make the link of the coupler to go into this rail. Remember, we based it off of 50 inches. What we're going to start with. So I'm going to hook the good new end of this rail, and I'm bringing myself over here to 50 inches, and I'm just going to put a mark here. It's not where I'm going to cut it, it's just where I want to look at what's going on here. Alright, and this rail on this side's fine, so if it's not broke, I'm not going to fix it. I'm just getting a judging spot to use on the opposite side. Okay, so down in here, see if I can reduce this light a little. You can see right in the center of the image there is a pin. See if I can get it there. That pin is what holds the entire rail together, and the arm that supports it, the upright. Let me see if I can show you where it ends. The arm, the top is right there at that position, and the bottom of it is clear down here. Okay, so now that we know where those two spots are at, where that arm is located in there, we got to think about the coupler that we're getting ready to install. And the coupler itself has pins that go in it. So this coupler, I would not want any of my pins to go past this mark here whenever I secure this bracket, because the pins will actually interfere with the arm lowering into the trough that it's set here for, the rails itself. So what I would do is I would judge it, and we would move this coupler back. I could put it just right there, just so long as my pin, because you can see this is where my pin is going to be, sorry, that hole is where my pin is going to be inserted, and I'm going to have to drill another hole in this side of the plate for my other one to be located in it. So I drew it in yellow there. So I would basically want to cut this rail in the center of this coupler. So just so long as that pin is not going to interfere with the arm that's right next to us here. So that's what my plan is. So I'm not really going to cut that piece into 50-inch pieces anymore, since now this is my new reference point. I'm going to hook the end of a new one, draw it back, and I'm going to get my measurement here. I could go, it looks like it's going to be 43 1/4. So I can make a 43 1/4 inch rail cut, and that's what I'll replace on that side. Now, for me to try and judge this as best I can, I'm going to butt my tape into the very end there, where the ramp is. Sorry, I'm going to set you down here. Where that ramp is for any lane oiler to drop down into the gutter. I'll just butt it or hook it right on there, and I'm measuring. I'm going to show you. I'm hooking over there at the end, and I'm coming here and I'm measuring, and this is my center, what was the 43, and I'm just going to get a reference point. We're just going to go 75 1/4. So that's where I'm going to mark on the other side on the broken lane. Alright, so now I'm set up here on the other side, same lane, but just on my broken side. And I'm going to mark the 75 1/4. Sorry about the light. I'm going to have to edit that out. The 75 1/4. So now I know where I'm going to cut my rail, so I can put the coupler in and not have to worry about that coupler pin interfering with my raised arm. So kind of we're doing two things at the same time. I'm going to cut this rail and fix it, and I'm going to replace that arm with a longer length one, and we'll end up replacing the one on the other side, but I'm just going to show you on this side what I'm going to do, and I'll take care of the other side on my own time, off camera. So now I got my reference point where I'm going to cut it back from. There's two ways you could have referenced that, just to be smarter here. You could have, since the lane is kind of very mathematically correct, as in lengths and distances, you could hook it at the end and go the longer number, or you could have had a smarter brain, could have thought smarter, and use this as a reference point here. There's an actual seam here. I could have saved myself a little bit of extra work in trying to stretch it out, and I could have just measured it off of this seam. So off of this seam, let's say it looks like 10 3/8 off the seam to my mark, and we'll show that on the other side. I got my tape basically at the seam. Right there it is. I'm coming across, and I'm at about 10 1/4, but that's not going to kill anything. So now I've got where I'm going to cut it at. I'm going to go ahead and raise these rails up, and we're going to sawzall it. Alright, just another thing to let you know. I have already done this before with switching out just a shorter section at our other center instead of doing an entire long section, so we know it works. But usually I don't put the seam this close. I usually put it further back. And the only reason I'm trying it different, the only reason I moved it further back in other instances is because I was concerned with how much torque is pulling down, or extra tension is pulling down. I was worried about putting a seam right here would kind of be popping it up in the air. But since I'm going to go ahead this time and I'm going to extend that arm, that upright, to the longer form, I figured there should be less tension on the curve of this rail, and that way it will be less stress right here on this point. So that's the reason I'm trying to go with a shorter section, just to repair what's broken out. Alright, so I'm getting ready to cut it here. I went ahead and put a mark here on the other side to let you know. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but there's a mark here with a wax pencil. What's going to happen is, I'm sure as you can see right now that it looks, you're like, why do I need to put it so far away from this rail? But whenever the rail lowers back down, the base of this upright is really close to here. So that's what happens when this goes down this way. Alright. But this is where we're going to cut it. I'm going to place my foot under it to keep it from moving and shaking around, and I'm going to use a Sawzall. I got a long Sawzall blade. I'd like to use a shorter one, but I'm going to use what I got. I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to cut up the lanes. I really don't like how long this blade is. It's getting pretty close to the lane itself. I'm going to go double check in the back, see if I got a better blade, a shorter blade. Alright, I found a shorter one. It was crooked though. I'm going to go ahead and straighten it out. That way I don't have to be so worried about tearing into the deck, the actual lane surface. Alright, that's where we're going to couple it at. That's where our connection's going to be. Alright, so the next step is to actually get the whole gutter out of here, because I'm going to change out that last arm to be the upright to be a longer one. So I need to go ahead and remove the cap, and we can get this whole gutter up and out here. Try to leave a majority of it in. Maybe I can do the work without having to take the entire thing out. We'll see how it goes here. Got a number 2 square bit to take all the end caps, securing screws out on this lane oiler ramp where it enters into the actual lane here. So I got that cap piece in up and out. Alright, so I've taken out what I believe to be all the screws in that rail, in that gutter. I'm going to go ahead and shut this valve off for a second. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and disable the valve here. I went ahead and took the front screw out for the securing cover. And as I showed in past videos, if you want to keep the buzzer from making the noise, right here there's a black and red plug 2-pin terminal. Just going to go ahead and remove that. Now I can set it off, not listen to the buzz. Now we're going to see if we can raise this gutter right up and out so I can access that pin from the underside to switch out that upright support. Still seems to be secured in place somewhere. I'm going to double check for some extra screws. Maybe stuck still. Yep. Good. See if that does it. Yeah, now I'm going to have access to it. I guess the best way for you to understand, I'm going to have to get complete access, so I'm going to go ahead and break the coupler joint down there and get this whole piece to come out and flip up for me. Alright, just to show you what I'm going to be doing to remove this E-clip out of the bumper rails, is I've got 2 small flathead screwdrivers, just so you can see. And this is the E-clip that we use. Sorry about the, I'm sure it's going to be a little bit blurry, but I'm going to take one blade and I'm going to stick it into each section, because I got that tooth in the middle. I'm going to stick one on one side and one on the other side, and then I'm going to rotate the heads. And as I rotate the heads, I'm going to put them side by side here. As I rotate those heads that direction, it's going to raise the E-clip straight up and off. So I can get you down here where you can see better. I'm going to rotate, and it's going to bring that E-clip up and off of the pin, the rail pin. Alright, so you can see I got the E-clip right here. The one I just showed you, basically, same thing. Wow, it looks like they drilled my holes pretty big on this one. I'm going to stick one screwdriver in one side, one screwdriver in the other. Now, I was going to try and do it, but when I rotate it up, it's going to hit the top lip of this rail. So I'm going to bring it around to the base. So now my E-clip is basically sitting underneath that direction, like a letter U. And I'm going to stick it in both bottom sides, and I'm rotating my left hand counterclockwise, and I'm rotating my right hand clockwise. Sorry, it's hard to do it with the camera right in front of me. Sorry, trying to make sure you have enough light here to see it, but I'm blocking the light with my hands. Alright. That's better. So I rotated it. It popped off. I still see it. I'd like to try and caught it with my hands. A lot of times you let it pop off, it's going to go down in the gutter or something. Here's the E-clip though. Got it out. So now I'm going to go ahead and just press this pin out. I'm going to leave the other part coupled up here because I'm pulling out just the left side. So it should all just come right out now, hopefully. Alright, let's try and pull it up and out. So I raised it up and I pulled it back towards us. Alright, so I got it up and out, but I've got an E-clip that I've got to extract, and the E-clip is actually on the inside of this. Wow. The E-clip is actually inside of the upright support itself. It's located right here. Probably won't be able to see it. Probably be horrible for me to try and get the camera down in there to watch me extract it. I'm just going to struggle to extract it. Once I pop it off, I'm going to pull the pin out this direction. It's going to come on out, and then I can put back in my new taller rail to put in there, and then we'll work on splicing in the new piece. So I'm going to pause it while I'm struggling to get this. I'm going to record for a second just in case this is successful. I'm going to try pulling it out just with some pliers. Okay, that was a fail. So I'm going to go back to the screwdriver plan. Alright, so I am going to go back to the screwdrivers, but I figure I better let you watch it, let you see how much I suffer. I'm going to try it just with one first. See if I can basically lift off of one side to get it to come off instead of doing both and bring it straight out. I was successful using one, just tweaking it. It may have bent the clip a little, but I do keep spare E-clips. I'm going to go ahead and pull that pin out. Try and keep everything in here. So my pin's out. I'm going to pull out the shorter arm. I'm going to replace it with a longer one. I can feel that this shorter one is sturdier, a thicker material, but I'm going to go ahead and try and switch it out anyway with the longer one. We're going to see what happens. I got to remember to put this rubber ring. It's going to go back into the center here when it's all said and done. It'll go like that. So I've got the pin back in, got the, maybe that's to keep vibrations down. I'm not really sure what those rubber rings are, what their purpose is. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my E-clip back on. I've got an E-clip installation tool right here. If you don't have one yet, I'd recommend that you get one. It's going to make things a lot easier with installation. With the E-clip tool, you just take the tool and you there's a notch side in the tool, and then there's smooth flat side. You want to put your E-clip in the notch side. Press it in there, just like so, as well as you can center it up. And the side that the notch is out, you can see how it recesses and it sits in there. Flip it over as not. This is the side you'd want to, if you're putting it on the rail in a specific spot, you'd want to put the rail on this side. So basically, the rail would be on that side. You'd press it down and slide it on, not the other, not this way. Okay. So now we're going to push this clip back on the inside here. I'm just locating my notch where it would go. I'm going to point it out to you with the screwdriver. Now I'm going to come back. I'm just going to install that E-clip. Sorry, trying to get some good light here. Just push that E-clip right on. So now we're secured. I got my new longer rail on. Now I know that'll probably change where the hole has to be drilled into the rail itself. I'm going to adjust that out personally with a drill bit, and I'll extend it out if I need to, if it seems to give me some problems. So I've got the old section of rail here that I cut that I need to extract. So we're going to go ahead and pop its pin out right here, the E-clip, so I can get this section of rail out. Go ahead and take my two screwdrivers, stick them in the E-clip, and rotate them in opposite directions but towards each other. Now the E-clip's off. Got it right here. Set it in the gutter. Pull my pin out from the opposite side. Lift the rail up. Now I'm all ready. We're going to go in the back and we're going to cut the new rail that we're going to put in. Alright, so now we need to cut our rail. I'm going to go ahead and use the side that's already intended for a right-hand side, because that's the one we're repairing. So I've got the rail here. This is the factory finished edge. The way it's designed, this would be where it would be if I was replacing the whole rail. I'm going to go ahead and we decided it was 43 1/4 out there earlier. I'm going to put a mark at 43 1/4 here. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and sawzall this off. So basically what I'm trying to show you how to do is how to fix 3 lanes out of one piece of material that would normally fix 1 lane. So now we've got our section that we're going to replace it with. It's going to make the front ends look nice and new instead of having that jagged piece of plastic up there by the bowlers section. I'm going to bring my coupler back here, and we're going to go ahead and try and get the coupler prepared for installation. Alright, so I've got the coupler back, and we're going to go ahead and give ourselves a centering mark on it. Just eyeball should be close enough, don't have to actually measure it. And I've got the end of the rail that's going to go in. Opposite from us would be where the bowler section is. And the coupler, get it right here, it's going to slide right in. And I'd want to go to the halfway point to actually know where I'm gonna. We're gonna leave a little gap in between there. These aren't gonna be tight. You can have like an 1/8 in between these 2 rails, and it'll still work fine. But notice I've got no hole here like I do here. This is where my rail coupler pin is gonna go. I need to actually establish a hole to be in this one. I'm going to go ahead and probably clamp it down is what I'll try. I was thinking about just drilling the metal first and then drilling the plastic, but I think I'm going to go ahead and go all the way through. So to kind of judge where I need my hole to be, I'm going to hold it on the outside here. I'm getting my center mark lined up with the edge of the rail where I'd want it to be, and then I'd guesstimate where I would like the center of this hole to be in the center of this metal for it to have the most strength. And I'm going to put a line straight up on my rail here. Alright, so that's the center of where I'd like to drill. That's my left and right. Now I'm going to figure out how far in it needs to be, or actually how far down, so I'd know for my up and down. Sorry. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and stick this piece back in the proper way. Now notice that the flat part of here is going to go flat against the inside of the rail, where the side that the ball would hit on. And I'm just going to slide it in far enough to where I can see where this other hole is at. Its center. I'll get you a little bit more here in the center view. There we go. So you can see that hole right there on that one. I'm going to find the center of it, and I'm just going to mark it on this gray plastic right here. So that's the center of that hole. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is take my pencil, trying to get you in some good reflective light here. Go ahead and take my pencil and just space it off the edge using my finger and just draw straight across. So that's given me where I should drill, where I should run everything through. That's my crosshairs. Now I want to transfer that same mark to the opposite side. So I'm going to roll it over. I'm just eyeballing square. I kind of know within an inch at least what's going to be 90-degree angle, and then bring it over the top. Alright, now I need to transfer the depth of this straight across, so I'm just going to use my finger again to hold it at the point where it needs to be. Trying to get you And I'm just going to bring my finger straight across without having to measure and put a mark on the opposite side. Now I'll bring it over, just switch hands with the pencil. I'm going to transfer that mark straight down. So now I've got my crosshairs on this side. I got my crosshairs on that side where I should drill. I'm going to go ahead and get the coupler and match the hole that Brunswick made. It's this one. If I can go up a step. It's right at it. I think I'll stick to the original smaller size, and maybe I'll bore it out a little bit. I'd like a secure fit. I'm going to go ahead and drill the rail first through one side, and then come back and drill through the other. So I can get you at an angle here where you can see it. There's that one. Now we'll come from the other side. And now I'll make sure that they align. If it doesn't fit perfect, don't worry, you can wallow it out a little bit. That's why it was a good idea to go with the smaller drill bit. Now I need to put a mark on this plate to try and line it up. I'm going to insert my plate back into the rail, find my center point where I marked it here, roll it over on the inside, and I'm going to use my wax pencil, which I need to sharpen. This is probably going to be a long video, sorry about that. I'll speed up as many parts as I can. There we go. Back to where we were. Hold it at the center point, roll it over, mark right in the center. Not the best mark. Just judging where it's at, just to check. Alright. So it looks like it's going to be right in the center of that yellow dot is where I should drill at. So I'm going to pause it, I'm going to bring this up and put this in the vise. Alright, so now we got it up here, still got my mark here. I'm going to go ahead and clamp it down in the vise. I'm going to I'm pressing on this way, so I want some support on this side of the vise as I'm going through. I like to start with a small drill bit, and then follow it up with the proper size. Smaller drill bits seem to walk less. You can get them in one spot. I'm going to try and get you down here where you can see what's going on a little better. If I was going through a lot of thick steel, I might use a little bit of oil on this to save my bit, but I have got a bit sharpener. So there's our guide hole. Now we're going to follow through with the size I need for the coupler to fit in there. The coupler pin. And I think I want to protect this bit, so I'm going to get some oil. Just a little bit bigger bit. Old shaky hands trying to not get oil everywhere. Come on. There we go. Alright, so let's see if the coupler is going to fit, the coupler pin. I got one in my pocket here. Ooh, it's a tight fit. So we're going to see if it's going to fit in the rail altogether completely. So I'm going to get some of these burrs off the back. Careful you don't get them to stick in you, it'll irritate you all day long. Alright. So now we got our rail where we drilled the hole. Going to go ahead and slide it in the back. Rotate it over. It looks pretty well centered. I think it's excellent. I think we're all set up. And now I have to drill this hole on the lane when we install it out there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put my E-clip back on the inside of this piece. Secure it in here as I showed you earlier. Square it up the best you can. Sorry. Get you where there's a little bit more light from the background. And the E-clip rests in this side, so I'm going to flip it upside down so that the E-clip is tight as it can be to this working surface. And I'm just going to press it up. So it locked in. I'm just going to remove it now, and it's secured in there. That's my rail coupler pin. Now I'm going to go ahead and set it down in the uprights, and we'll try and locate where we need to drill it down there. Alright, so I've got my two rails here together. I basically know where this hole's got to be at. I can just slide it forward. I want to leave about an 1/8 inch gap between the seams, and this is going to give me a reference point for my left and right. Then I need to secure the reference point for the up and down. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back into the track. Slide it forward, and I'm going to find right where this drilled hole hits. Right where it aligns with on the center most part of this rail. And there I transferred the mark, so I've got a cross hatch mark. See if I can not. It's almost in the center of the screen. I'm trying to find a good lighting source, so there you go. So it won't blind you, but set up right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill it out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill one side, then I'm gonna run my drill bit straight through the hole that is in the coupler, and then I'm going to use that to guide me to go out the other side. I don't even have to measure the other side. So right now I'm just going to line this up on my marks. Ran the drill bit through. Now I'm going to connect them. It's a little off, but I can fix that with the drill. There we go, and now I'm going to run it straight through out the other side. That's how we couple it up. Pull my coupler pin out. And the E-clip. Pressed through. I got a piece of trash in my way. through, but some of the plastic drill scraps was in the way. There we go. We're in, and I'm going to go ahead and clip it on the other side as I've shown you in the other one. Alright, that's our resecured rail. I'm going to go ahead and drop it back into place, and we'll put the rest of the E-clips on it, and we'll see if it raises and lowers. Wondering why they had 2 screw holes here, and now I found out why. I think they fastened it a little far back last time, so I got to cheat it forward. Now the screw hole's a little It had a hole, but it was the wrong hole. Drop some pieces back in still. That piece just snaps back in. Set our gutter cap back in. Got my 2 screws. I got the longer one. Goes to the inside here. If I can find where it goes. Not too tight, you don't want to run through the rubber cap and punch a big hole in it. Sorry, I'm trying to find the old hole underneath. I'd like to use the same hole and not make a new one. I think I found it. Alright. I'm going to load some coupler pins back in and we're going to see how this works. Got to go get one more pin for this end. Since it was broken off, the pin was lost in the piece in the back, so I'm going to go see if I can find one of those. Alright, one thing you'll probably notice is I didn't put an end rail insert in. It's supposed to be used, you can raise or lower the bumpers using a hook. We don't really use that, so I'm not going to actually reinstall it back into the system. We're just going to leave it out. I've got my other pin. I'm going to put it in my E-clip tool here. Clean it out some. Just like so. We're going to clip it back into the rail so I can hold that new upright arm in it. Step, I'm going to go get a cap. We're going to put a cap in that to make it look nice. Alright, so I got one of my old caps here that it broke off of it. I'll go ahead and use a drill and get that cap out. I'm not cutting it, I'm using my knife to pry it free from this rail. I'll just reinsert it back into the new rail section. Kind of hard to get you to see it from this angle. It's not really science. I'm just going to run the screw right in the side to secure it. Alright, and I'm just going to manually push it down. Cross my fingers. It should drop right into the basically the storage slot where it's secured down. I don't see anything that's going to interfere with it when it goes down. And now we see the problem. It doesn't seem to be recessing enough. I'm going to have to diagnose this. Alright, so what it is that the slot that it's into is not trimmed back enough, so it can all the way go down into the storage section on the lane. So I'm going to raise it back up. I'm going to get my drill, and I'm going to drill it out a little bit, and we should be able to resolve this issue. Let's go ahead and raise it back up. What it is, that longer arm has a further distance to travel for it to be able to set in there. I'm going to check it rather than me taking out too much. I'm going to see if that helps. Alright, now it's still being held up by my other one further back here. Go ahead and take it out as well. Getting closer to what I need. So I gotta have some work done to it. and now you can see it sits just fine. So what I had to do, since I took the angle out of the bow and I put a longer arm here, I had to actually widen the slot that it goes into so it'll be able to go all the way flat and set recessed. But I do believe it will work. We'll try these out. Hopefully it'll be a success, and it's a cheap way, or a way to save money for your facility. Fix 3 lanes with just one piece of rail, bumper rail. Alright, so I'm going to try and show you what I had to do on the other side, but I'm going to do it on this left side. I put a new taller rail in here as I bring it up. Show you to get you into a better position. You can see where the original hole is, and you can see where the upright, when it's at its furthest most position, where it's placed at. Now you can see where its hole is further back here. So I have to drill that out with a bit back to at least this point. I put a yellow mark in there. I'm going to move it forward so you can see, try and get some of that glare off. But that is where I have got to basically make my new track come to. It's back this far. I'm just going to go just to right. About there. Alright, so I'm going to take my drill, I'm going to stick it down there, and I'm going to eat that track out coming further this way till I reach that spot, and then I can repin this back in and it'll be relaxed, and when it goes to drop down in the lane it should seat properly. Alright, so you can see I've got some holes drilled out there. I'm going to go ahead and take some nippers and cut the excess out. Alright, now I'm going to take a razor blade and I'm going to trim the rest of it out the best I can. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to need 2 hands to do that. So what I ended up doing is just took a multi-tool, Gerber one. I was worried about breaking the blades. And there is more than one way to do this. You could route this out. You could take the whole thing out and do it. I just try and find simpler ways to get this done faster. So I'm taking my knife and I am just shaving the inside of this plastic piece just to try and get it to where it'll travel smoother, and I'm going to come across the top. Sorry, I'm at a bad angle, blocking you from seeing a lot of what I'm doing. So I can come from the other direction. I'm using my thumb as a fulcrum, pivoting across it. So I trim that rail out. So now whenever the arm is up in there, it'll set just like so. You can still see the holes on the other side. I'm going to work on the other side, getting it ready. And then we'll put the, so I'm going to pause it again. I'll get the other side trimmed up. We'll put the pin back in, and hopefully we'll drop it down and it'll go down the first time. Alright, so I got it trimmed out, but I'm not sure if you can see. What I should have done is I should have left that little, there was a little separation point between these two. You can see it on the other side. I decided to leave that in there just for a little bit more stability. So I'm going to go ahead and raise this arm up. We're going to put the pin in. We're not going to put the E-clip on in case I have to remove it and cut some more back out. Sorry, I was just putting the pin in my second rail down the way, that rail right there, that upright. So now we're just going to try lowering this, and we're going to see if it drops right in properly. Perfect. So that's what it is. Last time I did cut out the secondary one. I trimmed it out, which I should not have. I should have just went in a little further with my tallest upright here up in the front. So I probably won't edit that out. It's easiest to see if I make those mistakes. But just so you'll know, I will put a notation in the video to not trim that one out, but it looks like it's going to work. I'll just raise my bumpers back up, I'll secure my pins, and that's everything on how I switched it out from the shorter upright to the longer one on my rails. I'll test it and we'll see how it works out over time.